All right, so we're going to talk about doing the Mayday basket, and we're talking about the knit version today. And you will see that it has this gray and white checks, and then we add on a pop of color, this purple for a little fun color for spring. What this basically is a square, and then when you get your parts done, then you're gonna, and it's a square, then you're gonna fold it over and make your seam along this edge right here, and that's going to be where you're going to put this pop of color together to sew that in there. So really simple, fun, easy to do, a great spring gift for somebody. I'm going to work with some Jackson yarn, so it's a little bit thicker than the yarn that comes in the kit, but maybe you'll be able to see me work on that a little better. So if you read through all of the abbreviations, pretty easy. We're going to knit two together at some point. We're going to have our yarn in back, WYIB, which is yarn in back. Bind off, knit. We're going to slip one, and whenever you slip a stitch, if it doesn't tell you how you're going to slip it, assume that you're going to slip it as a purl stitch. But in this pattern, Hannah has told us how we're going to slip those stitches. WYIF means yarn in front, as if to purl. And this just means stitches, and P means purl. So we're going to start out with a two-tail cast on. I've talked about that cast on before, and I did it using two ends of the yarn. Today I'm going to show you how to do it with just one end of the yarn, and I'm going to give myself some tail, about 4, 5, 6 inches here. And I'm going to wrap this. I'm going to need 41 stitches. So I'm going to wrap around my needle 41 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to put my slip knot in. And then I'm going to do my two-tail cast on, which involves looping it around my fingers, so it's like that. I'm just going to put finger and thumb together, slip them between the two strands and widen them out, and then I dip under here, through here, back, and tighten. So we're going to go through that motion 41 times. Out, over to your thumb, pick that up around to your finger, scrape your finger, and then through, and it gives you a really nice edge. It's one of my favorite. Hannah uses this a lot. It's one of my favorite cast-ons. I think it just gives a nice look. It makes it easier to do your first row. You could always do that thumb cast on. I call it a half hitch. It's just a simple cast on. But when I do that, I have a hard time getting my first row set, so that seems like I have a hard time getting picking up the stitches and not splitting my yarn. So we just keep going along till we get those 41 stitches, and of course I can't talk and count at the same time, so I'm going to have to put on several stitches here, and then I'll do the counting process and see if I get those 41 stitches. Okay, there, I'll give that count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 31. So I need 10 more. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, as you can see, I'm using a circular needle. You can use, this is knitted flat, so you can either use a flat straight needles or circular needles. I prefer circular needles because I never lose one of the needles that way, and I have a tendency to lose things. So we're going to by Stephanie Garcia here from Buffalo, Wyoming. And Romney is a long stapled wool. And, oh, goodness. It is more of a coarse wool. Perfect for this basket, because you can put some pretty heavy stuff in it, or maybe your friends will want to hang it up or throw it in a basket and take it out once a year. That Romney wool is going to be a hardy wool. And as we're doing these, it's kind of a checkered board stripes. And how we're going to do that is by using a technique called mosaic. And the mosaic is doing color work without carrying 2 yarns across each row. And we do that by slipping stitches. And when you slip a stitch, then you're bringing up a color from the previous row. So I am at the end of row 2 of this setup row, which we just knitted 2 rows with the gray. And then I'm going to start on that basket part. When we start on the basket part, we're going to add in the white and find the end of that. And like I said, when you slip the yarn, you slip it purlwise. And this row, we're going to slip with our yarn in back. And I'm going to work in my tail as I go so that I don't have to work it in at the end of the pattern. So knit, slip, slip, knit, and we'll go across. We end up with a knit, a slip. Then we come around and we're going to do the second round, and we're going to use the white again. And again, we're going to slip and knit. So we're slipping with our yarn in front this time, and then we knit, we slip one, and then we knit and slip and knit. We slip the gray and knit the white. We're on our back side of our work this time. Okay, now We've done those rows 1 and 2 of the basket, and now we're going to switch to the gray yarn, and we're just going to knit all the way across for rows 3 and 4. So just knit across with the gray yarn. And that's going to bring up those ends that we've just been slipping, and it'll bring them up to where they should be. But all of our edge stitches will be gray. Here's the end of row 3 of the basket. Switch over and we'll knit again. Go back on row 4. Okay. So that is the first set of our basket portion, and we are going to do these 4 rows 16 more times for a total of 17. So again, we're going to slip and knit with the white. Oops, get in there. And the first time through, when we're on the right side is facing us, we hold our yarn in the back. When we come across on the wrong side, then we hold the yarn in the front. Very simple pattern to get a fun look of a basket weave. So I have great memories of Mayday baskets, and I have to say I haven't done them for several years, so I am looking forward to revitalizing this myself. And so my memories of Mayday baskets was that when I was in 4-H as a young child, we would make Mayday baskets, and then we would take them to the local nursing home and assisted living center. And Mayday baskets has a great history and means different things to different people, but the common thing is a celebration of springtime and doing something for our neighbor without taking a lot of credit. And in my opinion, if we could increase our neighborliness and not ask for credit for things, that would make the world a little bit of a better place. So when I'm making these, I'm thinking of whose door I'm going to leave them on. And oops, I'm almost messed up talking. And I'm thinking about what I could put in them. Like, I might put in some gum, or some candy, or flowers. I have a couple of friends who are big gardeners, and I'm thinking that it'd be kind of fun to get a couple like pansies, you know, the 6-packs of pansies, and I'm just going to cut out a couple of those individuals out of the 6-pack and put in the basket, and then they can plant them themselves. And if they don't know that it was me who did it, which, you know, not everybody has a friend that knits, so it's possible that they will know that it's me, but if they don't know that I'm the one that did it, that's all the better. Okay, so we're coming back and we're going to slip with the yarn in front. Then we're going to knit the white stitches and slip the gray stitches. And so that helps keep you, even when you're being like me and talking and not paying total attention, you'll know if you messed up because you always knit the white ones. Pretty soon I'm going to we'll have a full pattern. Well, I will have 2 full patterns, and then you'll get to see what it starts looking like, what the final thing is going to look like. We're starting to see what our pattern's going to look like. So I have completed this first part of the basket, and I have done the striped. That's what we're looking at. It looks like now, and now we get to add in the pop of color. I kept track of, I'm a hatch mark person. We needed to do 17 repeats of this 4 rows. And so I did my 17, although I didn't mark that last one. And now I'm going to add in our color, pop color, and do the same 4 rows, but instead of having the white color, we're going to have our pop color. So the options, as you'll remember, you'll have either the purple or the yellow. And, but I found in the store this skein of yarn that is the pink. This is our Salem yarn, and it has some silk in it. Anyway, so that's what's going to be my pop color. So we just go back to row 1 of what we've been doing, and this time we have in our color. And so I am going to, we'll slip this first stitch, and then I'll loop this over here and knit and slip. And again, when I knit, I'm going to work in these ends so that it is all, we can have that type of the work done. There we go. So knit, slip, spin those around there, knit again, slip, take these with me again. About 4 times will be plenty to lock those in so they won't come out. All right, so now I put in 3 repeats using the pop of color and the gray. And so now we are going to get to the border row. And it is a, we're going to knit 10, then we're going to turn, knit 9, turn, knit 8, till we get down to knit 5, and then we're going to turn and do 17. So we no longer need the gray yarn, so I'm going to cut it. And away goes gray. 3, 4, 10, and then I'm going to turn and put my yarn in back there, and then I'm going to knit 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1 from the end. I'm going to turn, put my yarn in back. This time I'm going to knit 8. So we're kind of making a little V-shaped bump. That is 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 and turn, put my yarn in back, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, turn, put my yarn in back, 6 this time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, turn, and this time we're going to do 5. Oops, gotta put my yarn in back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And see, kind of we're having a little triangle shaped here. Now after 5, we're going to knit 17. So we're going to knit 17, and then we're going to go through that process again. So we're going to go to the end of the next hill. So 1, 15, 16, 17, and then we're going to turn and knit 9. There's 9, and we're right at the edge of this last triangle shape. Put that in the back, and now we go to 8. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And now 7. And now 6. And when we do 5, then we go and make another little hump. So 5, and then we'll do 17 again. And we're working our way all across the edge of our piece here. 15, 16, 17. Now we'll turn and go 9, 7, 8, 9, and now 8, and back in 7, and 6. And here we go for 5, 5, and now we have our third hump. And now we're going to go 17 again. 16, 17. And go back to 9, 8, 9, turn, 8, there's 8, back 7, back 6, back 5, and then the next portion of the project we're going to bind off by knitting 1, and then we're going to knit 1 and bind off, and then we're going to cast on 1 stitch using a backwards loop cast on onto the right needle. Then we're going to bind off and cast on 1 stitch using the backward loop cast onto the right needle, bind off again, and we're going to repeat that to the last stitch. Okay, so we bind off and add 1, and then we knit 1, bind off, add 1. So how that looks is we're going to knit 1, oops, knit 1, then we're going to knit another 1, and we're going to bring that loop over here, and then we're going to add on a loop there, and we are going to cast on 1 stitch using the backward loop onto the right needle. So I got my needle, do the cast on, we make a loop and put it over. And then we're going to take that over. Then we knit 1 and bind it off. We cast one on, so we do that. Knit one, bind off. So you make a circle and you slip it over like that, and you bind that off. And that's making these humps look more lacy. And I'm on my last stitch. Flip my last stitch over, and there it is. Let's see what the right directions say now. So we're supposed to cut the color and weave in all the ends, and then we do the strap for the top, which is you're using this color. Okay, and so here you can see what this looks like. And when we finish it, what we're going to do is put it like this. And we're going to seam that together. Seam it together. And then our handle's going to hook from one end to the other. And we can add in our flower on the side. This little flower. And the handle is just, you cast on 6 stitches, and you just go back and forth. You do 7 stitches. And so you just go back and forth, knitting on the right side, purling on the wrong side, until this piece measures 13 inches, and then you're going to bind off. And so that's a simple thing to do. Now let's talk about the flower. Flower's not going to be, it's not a hard flower, but let me show you what the flower directions are. So the flower, we are going to cast on 35 stitches using the long tail cast, and then we purl and knit, and then we do some yarn overs, and it's a pretty simple thing. So I'm going to say 37 stitches will probably be about right in there. We can do 37 stitches. We're going to do that. We're going to two-tail cast on again. So first we purl, then we knit. Okay, so started on a stocking knit. We purled 1 row, knitted 1 row, and now we're going to knit 1, yarn over, and we're going to go across the row doing that. So we're going to double our stitches. When you double your stitches, that's going to give that wavy look. And then we're going to knit the last one. Okay, in the next row, we're going to do the same thing. Now, we're going to double our stitches again. Yarn over and then knit. This time we're going to be knitting the yarn overs and adding more. Now we're supposed to have 137 stitches on here, and we are going to then bind these off with a long end, thread a running stitch along the cast on, and pull and cinch. And then weave the ends together. Use the ends to secure off the flowers and the basket. So we will slip one and knit one. And we're going to knit them loose. close or bind it off. Oh. Ta-da! Ha-ha! Now, the next part I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tape tapestry needle and have the yarn threaded on it, and I'm going to go through all of my cast-on stitches along here and working through the cast-on stitches all the way out, and then I'm going to pull it tight and it's going to all bound up and look like a flower.